Oh my God, LinkedIn is not working. Okay.
Hello, hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi, good to see you.
Nice to see you again. Nice to be back. Okay, well.
No, I'm just so lucky that 𝐿𝐤𝐤 gets to be with me during this time. So, hi.
So excited to be back. Very, very exciting. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good night, good evening. Welcome to Ed Chats. I'm really excited the other way around this time. I am introducing Cassandra Williams, founder of Educational Innovation 360. I feel like people know that on here. So she has designed an instructional coaching system, which is designed to improve teacher effectiveness and transform schools by increasing student achievement. And today, we are actually going to be discussing 5 ways educators can engage their students online, which is such a timely subject that I'm very excited to address.
Yes, no, I totally agree. And so we're trying something different, right? I am live on Instagram. I see Project Free. I just want to give them a shout out. Linda Art Hub joined. So good to see you. 𝐿𝐤𝐤, like I said, 𝐿𝐤𝐤 has been amazing with just helping me get things together. So I really appreciate you doing this, 𝐿𝐤𝐤.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Thank you for, putting it all together and making this happen.
So I'm going to just start off by asking kind of what you guys do. Like, what do you do in the classroom that is different? How do you engage students? Because I think now we're having to do things totally different from what we learned in school. So I'm gonna put that out there. What are you doing? Hi, Pryor. Hi, the preacher's in the house. I just want to say good to see you. So what are you doing? What are you doing? 𝐿𝐤𝐤, have you seen any cool things that teachers are doing just to get students excited about learning? Engaged?
Actually, yes. There's one thing that I came across actually on LinkedIn today. It is this educator who has decided to teach public speaking skills to elementary school students. And the subject material is magic tricks. So he has students learn magic tricks and then do magic for the class. So they each get their own. And it's just really, very heartwarming, but also very effective. A lot of magic trick isn't just like misdirection, but it's engaging the crowd. It's being able to confidently and, articulately get up in front of people and say, hey, listen to me. It's a very good public speaking model, actually. It's a good vessel, and it gets kids engaged, and it's fun. Yeah. So I saw that today. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the educator's name. I wish I'll look it up. But it was a great idea. So that's something fun and very engaging that I saw.
No, I definitely agree. And so luckily I get to see teachers and I get to observe teachers and see what cool things they're doing. But so I picked 5, just 5 cool things that I'm seeing in the classrooms. And feel free to leave your comments. Tell me who's out there. Leave your name. Tell me where you're from, where you're signing in from. And that will help me out too. So I'm going to go ahead and go into it. Let me know if you see this, 𝐿𝐤𝐤. That would be great.
Yep, I'm looking at
it. Yay. Okay, so here are my 5 top tips in going in online and being creative and just doing things so different. So number 1, right? Create student leaders. Oh my goodness, I can't say this enough. You can't do it all as teachers. So it is very overwhelming. So think of how you can create leaders, giving students their own space, student spaces within your class to kind of teach each other, right? Think, pair, share. Just being able to online jobs. Why not give somebody an online job as like a greeter and say, hey, John, welcome to class, right? We all want to be recognized. So Online job is a great way to have your students kind of be involved and get engaged and taking on that leadership role. And I think another thing is just, I know when we think of jobs, we can also think of like how we monitor ourselves. Like a student can say, you know, you're going down a rabbit hole, Ms. Williams, like you've elaborated on this subject for more than 5 minutes. You know, it's good to get that feedback. Now, sometimes maybe not so much, but on the up and up, it's great to get student feedback. So I definitely love that.
Absolutely. I think I'd also add that when we create student leaders, we give students a stakeholder. They're a stakeholder in their own learning, which, you know, when you have that autonomy in a certain sense in the classroom and in the lesson plan, students inherently will be more engaged. They have a greater stakeholder and I guess a stakeholder role in your classroom. So
Yeah.
definitely, I mean, it almost on a more philosophical level, it increases engagement just within the I guess the power dynamics of the classroom when you create student leaders, which is really, you know, it really helps with like critical thinking, with, you know, engagement. Like it's just, you know, it's critical.
Yes, you are spot on. You are so spot on. And so, yes, we definitely love when students are leaders. And so number 2 is scaffolds. Just being able to scaffold student success is so important. And so, like, I asked myself, what are some of the things that we're doing to make sure that students can, of course, access the curriculum, right? And so some of that is like announcements, you know, putting out announcements so students can know something's coming up, letting them know, sometimes putting things on their calendar to say, hey, you should be working on this part of the project right now. You know, that's pretty good. And also I want to say the last thing about this piece is sample work. Students, it would be very nice for students to see what your expectation is in an online environment. So if you have a sample of your work and then provide it for them, that is golden for our students.
Absolutely. Especially when schooling is so fundamentally different for a lot of students right now, having that surety of, oh, this is what the teacher might be expecting. It sets them up for success inherently. So making sure that, you know, there is those clear expectations will prepare your students for success and ultimately increase engagement. When students are unsure, it is very difficult to get them engaged because they, you know, there's that inherent fear of what if I'm wrong? What if this wasn't, you know, maybe I'm not supposed to speak right now. Maybe, you know, I don't want my teacher to be mad at me, or I don't want people to think I'm dumb. There's always those, you know, those anxieties with unsurety. So setting clear expectations really helps with scaffolding student success.
No, you're right. I love it. I love it. And so number 3 is activate, intro, practice, and summary. So like I thought about this last night, just FYI. So when we talk, is it AIPS? No, AIPS, I spelled wrong. But anyway, still activate. So how do we activate prior knowledge and get them talking about the content area and the subject? You know, and then not only that, we're tallying who's talking. So we know that students will not go the entire lesson not talking. So that's really important. So activate prior knowledge. Introduction is very important, right? What is the concept and how can we chunk our concept into little baby pieces so students can understand it and get it and, you know, better grapple with some of the content that we're delivering, okay? And so practice, I always say 5-minute practice, 10-minute practice. Remember, we want to be able to have students, the filter to be so low effective filter to where they can actually grapple with the content and just get a little practice in class. And so what that looks like is social. How are they socializing with their peers? And that practice with their peers really is crucial into them loving learning and loving their peers while they're learning together. And the last but not least is summary, sum up. At the end of your lesson, there should be some type of small recap on what you did, an overview. Students may show their learning and remember, tally. Make sure you tally who is able to talk because there's nothing worse than, like I said, a student going through the whole lesson and not being able to communicate effectively back to you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what I love about this framework too is that there are so many. It's so flexible in terms of classroom setting. You know, I think like many other educators right now, I'm always harping on the classroom setting is different. You know, does this apply right now? Is this relevant? And what's great about this framework is it really is. You know, practice doesn't have to look like synchronous, tell me what you learned. It doesn't have to look even like a breakout room, which is great. But it can look like, you know, this is a very simple science experiment. I want you to take a video of yourself, you know, like with your science volcano, your baking soda volcano. And it's putting it into practice, you know, so leveraging the technology that we have now within this framework is very, I think, you know, it's very timely, very relevant, and definitely increases engagement. So thinking beyond even just the synchronous, well, let's have a discussion, which is great, but you know, we can leverage technology now.
Yeah, we definitely can. So yeah, and so number four is rewards. Celebrate good time. Come on. I mean, just celebrating student success. I think that is, you know, just the small wins. Maybe you can do a beginning of the lesson shout out. You know, shout out to Allison who got an A on her test. She is doing amazing work. I heard she studied. She is super duper. Everybody, let's give her a round of applause, right? And so celebrating the little wins that, you know, just melt students' heart. And we want to make sure we do that. Drive-bys. Now, I know the term drive-by, but being able to drive by a student who you know is struggling with content and driving up and honking your horn, telling parents, hey, I'm coming by, I just want to stop and say hi. You know, those are really special moments for the parents, especially that they're going through these challenging times. Even a virtual talent show, right? Let's see your moves, right? And students eat it up. They love things like that in the talent show. So I've done the talent show before. And many times we need to pry and ask our students, what are their favorite songs? What are their favorite dances? And so one of those times I will pick that dance or that song and start singing it in celebration. And students will just be blown away like, what? You know that song? But yeah, it took a little digging on my end just to learn it. But it's so important for your students to, you know, be able to relate to you.
I love that talent show idea. That's great. No, it's not only engaging, but it's also engaging in a way that students want to engage. You know, they'll bring their talents to you, and so that's inherently engaging. I know I've also seen what I like about rewards too is I've seen teachers, especially in the virtual era of education right now, I've seen them use it for classroom management. I worked with one teacher who created the system called the secret student. And every single day, she writes down a student's name in her classroom, and only she knows it. And so, you know, throughout the day, she'll be like, oh, my secret student is doing so well today. You know, they've already got their work done. They're sitting quietly. They've muted their mic. Or they'll say, you know, my secret student is really participating today. I really like that. Like, good job. Or they'll, you know, it could also go the other way. It can be, you know, my secret student, they're not paying attention in class right now. And if a student does really well, at the end of the day, they have a celebration for that student. You know, they spend the last 10 minutes, celebrate the student. And if the student doesn't do so well, it's, you know, our secret student didn't do too well today, but there's always next time. So, you know, I think it's a really great way, not only to inherently reward students, but also it's a great classroom management style that isn't punitive. So even reframing rewards as what can I do to get students to do what I want, as well as what can I do to get them to engage the way I want.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh. Yes. And so last but not least, I think everybody knows is storytelling. How do you get students super excited? You connect it to a real world situation, or you connect it to a story that you passionately share in the first 5 minutes of your lesson, right? And so that could be anything from hey guys, Miss Williams just went on Weight Watchers, and I have to have only 300 calories for breakfast. What are some things that I can eat? All right, let's do breakout groups. Go ahead. Now's the time for you to search. You're digging. And so now kids are coming back and say you can eat egg and you can't eat a pancake, but you can't eat the syrup, right? And so this is just good ways to get them excited and passionate and just connecting what they're doing to real world concepts and introducing lessons that way that gives them the hook to want to engage further.
I love that. It's one of the I guess more prevalent complaints I hear from students, and I even in college, you'll hear students say this will never apply to me in the real world. Why am I learning this? And storytelling completely flips the narrative on that. It applies it to real world. Think it's interesting. It can even be in music class, you're dissecting, if you're looking at music theory, you're dissecting like the newest Ariana Grande song. It's relevant. And it's like, how is the music telling the story, not just the lyrics, not just the video? How is the theory? You can tell I have a music background.
I love it.
Storytelling is so key. I like it. It's a good strategy.
Yeah, so those are my 5. But I do think that there are so many teachers out there doing great things. I mean, I've seen a raffle, from the kids that are there. I've seen spin the virtual wheel. I mean, there's so many cool things that teachers are doing just to be creative. And so I appreciate all of our wonderful teachers out there.
Absolutely. I mean, especially right now, it's also one of those large scale situations where we're redesigning what it means to learn virtually or in a hybrid. And so you have a lot of teachers that aren't only coming up with these fantastic ideas, but they're coming up with them in such a wild time, shall I say. So yeah, I have a lot of respect.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It is a crazy time. So if you guys have any questions or something you want to ask, or, my favorite Allison is here, you want to chat with her, definitely now is the time, because we love questions. Mm-hmm. But like I said, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that's what we're here for. We're here for the questions. I'd love to hear, it almost transcends the classroom too. Really in any environment where you're looking for more engagement. Maybe you're looking for more engagement at work. Maybe you're a boss and you're like, my employees are not engaging in our weekly meetings. It is true. So any, I guess, place where you have people that you'd like to engage more. I'd love to hear what people are doing. As Cassandra said, there are so many more ways than just the 5 that, Cassandra's presented.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear if anyone has what it takes.
And, even thinking, I remember I was driving up the street and I saw a teacher and I was wondering, what is she doing in the front yard of my neighbor's house? And so I went by and said, hey, Mrs. Jane, I'll say Jane for now. So, hey, Mrs. Jane, how you doing? What's going on? So she was like holding court in the front yard. And one of the things she said is, I have found it being very beneficial to get to know parents. So what I did was schedule a meeting with all of my parents and got to meet them face to face. And we had a great conversation. So she is in the front yard of her, I think it's 17th parent, just so she can get full communication and make sure that the parents know that she is there to support student growth. I mean, talk about going above and beyond. So I hear you, teachers. I hear you. You are out there. You are going already above and beyond.
Absolutely. And I think that also brings in a really important key to the conversation, which are parents.
Yeah.
Parents are taking a very different role in education and engagement for students right now, especially, everyone's in the house. You're not just teaching your students anymore. Your parents, they're all listening in. The parents are listening in. And so parents are really great. They're a partner in student engagement because they're there. They're monitoring. They're making sure their students aren't on TikTok. But they're also there to help conduct experiments. They're also there to make sure. They're there as a partner to talk through, maybe my students aren't responding well to breakout rooms. Do you think that we could do less time on Zoom and more X, Y, and Z? So they're a great feedback loop for engaging students, as well as, they're in your class as well.
I know, and I totally agree. And, I know another parent that did something that I thought was kind of amazing. She had coffee, chat, and teacher. And so parents could tune on and have great conversation with the teacher, just about student learning, expectations, ideas of next steps. And, teachers are overwhelmed, but they are finding really creative ways to connect with parents. So with this little coffee chat, she said it's only once a week. Parents can tune in if they want to. It's 30 minutes. I'm online, and parents come in and they just talk about, life, and to have that connection is very powerful for the teacher to actually do that and spend her time just building those relationships.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great. In any other normal year, it might be a PTA conference, then meet the parents night, and that's it. I know parents that have never met their student's teacher. But I think that, especially given the nature of virtual learning, it's really accelerated the need and also the benefits of parent-teacher partnership in education. So definitely that is a fun key to engaging your students, which might not necessarily be the first avenue you think of. A first avenue that I think of when you're engaging students is, let's just throw in a breakout room every once in a while. But make sure you're getting a feedback loop. Feedback is really important.
Yes. I mean, there's even parents on TikTok, and so there's teachers on TikTok who are actually trying to figure out ways to engage with families. And I know there's a couple of surveys that went out by the school and said, what are the best ways of communication? How can we best support you in this space? And if most of your parents are on Facebook, guess what your newsletter is? If your newsletter's on Facebook, even better, or Twitter. So I think we are now starting to kind of think outside the box when it comes to doing things differently, which I'm very excited about. How are we doing things differently? So yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. And then one fun, sneaky way I like to get students engaged is just to ask them how they are at the beginning of class. It's a very easy question. There's nothing to do with the material. You might have a student that will tell you how they are, and then, maybe they didn't read the material. Maybe they forgot their math homework, but they told you how they are, so that they're there and they've engaged with you, spending that 5 minutes at the beginning of class to be like, hey, how was your weekend? Any general question. It gets your students engaged at the basement, I guess, of what you're looking for, which is their cameras are on and they've talked to you. And it can only get better from there. Also, especially over Zoom, being able to see people is really great. Like, Cassandra, I'm glad that I can see you. It's like I don't have my icon on, and you got your icon on, and there's, muted, and it increases engagement. Just inherently, like I can see your reactions to what I'm saying, So it's and those are very, very minimum, which I think a lot of teachers have made so far. They've made the connection of your cameras have to be on, make sure that your mic is muted unless you're talking. But I think that if we're not already doing that, we should be doing that.
No, I totally agree. And there's tricks, right? There's some. Sometimes we can't make the students do that, but there are tricks that we can use. So for example, at the beginning of the lesson, one of the things that I noticed is all my students, their cameras were off. And so what I did was the next activity which was the next week, was say, hey, now we're doing a virtual background. Tell me how you're feeling with your virtual background. And so students were like, oh, okay. So they're looking for virtual backgrounds and they're showing their virtual backgrounds, but I'm marking like, oh, John, oh my God, you're struggling with Baby Yoda. Oh, can somebody top that? And so now John is like, oh, let me get another one. I have another one, Miss Williams. And so it was just so amazing to see the kids light up and just engage and want to share some of the things that they have.
Absolutely. I love that idea. That's great.
So I guess we'll wrap it up now.
That sounds good to me.
So if you guys have any questions, we're going to bring definitely Allison back. She is always amazing to talk to. So I appreciate you, Ms. Allison.
Always happy to be here. 100%. I'm ready to be back.
All right. Well, signing off, Educational Innovation. Thank you, Ms. Allison. I will talk to you guys later.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining.
Bye.